Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting off with the plenary session and handing over the session to the moderator. Over to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first thank all of you for being here in the morning. And after a very informative inaugural session, we are getting down to business. Let me first start by thanking our FICCI, its officers, office bearers particularly, who have made this possible almost every year now for 14 years. Every year it has been happening. It has been wonderful. And I'm almost here for, at least for 10 years I would have come here and been a part of this program. It is really wonderful. Congratulations and keep it up. Particularly I should say a word about our Sudarshan, who has also been spearheading this from the staff side. Yes. Yeah. And let's get into the details here. We have to talk about the transition, energy transition. And let me put the topic in focus to start with. The point that I wanted to stress here, I will borrow from whatever we discussed in the last year's summit. We were talking of what energy transition really means. Energy transition on one side is a major change giver, right? What I mean by the change maker is that it is not only a technology change that's happening. Okay, it's not just a technology change that's happening. It is also a social change. It is also a political change. And it is also a major overhaul of the society. Last year, I remember that we were discussing some of these major aspects that were happening in the social structures due to energy transition. The first energy transition happened with fire. When the fire became, that was supposed to be the first transition, when the way to create fire was found or identified, or maybe you can even say invented. Until then, fire was not controlled, and human beings were like animals. We were running around, and when the fire happens, we run away from the fire like any other animal did. But once we started controlling fire, we became the rulers of this planet. We defeated all the animals. So that is when the first transition happened in the terms of energy. The second transition, when coal was brought in, there was a huge amount of change, and the country that was rich and prosperous until then, the Industrial Revolution pulled India down. When we did not take that opportunity, we fell from grace. We were not the number one country at the end of the Industrial Revolution. When the third energy transition came in, when coal, which was called also as a black gold, it created new powers in the world. Europe became the new power. The social change accompanied with this was phenomenal. Marxism, all these things happened. It was all a social change. The entire order changed in the world with the second transition. That is the transition when we went to coal. The third transition, which was the fuel which we use now, the liquid fuel. Imagine your cars running with coal, okay, or your flights running with coal. It just cannot happen. The change that this transition brought in was phenomenal again. It again changed the equations between nations. The new nations that became powerful came from the guys who were owning these petroleum as their resources. The entire equation, inter-country or international equations changed. So it is not just a transition, just does not mean that an energy change is happening. Remember, it is not just a technology change. It is a social change. It is a change in the political structures. And that also means that this change that we are now sitting on and that we are heralding in is not just a technology change. It's not that you are moving from technology A to technology B. It's not like one generation of computers leaving space to the next generation of computers. It's not like that. But yes, that also had implications. But if you look at the change that energy is bringing in, it's phenomenal. And why do I say this? Because if you look at the coal was held by resource was held by a few people. Mines were owned by some. The entire energy sector was under a domination of a few people, the rich, the poor, the working class. All these class differences come in only because of this kind of energy changes. And now with oil, this was actually increased more. But what is the change that's now happening? Energy is now omnipresent, literally. It is going to be with everyone. At distributed power generation, the power equations will change. We are looking at how the power is going to become a common man's property. Anybody can generate power. So the whole scene is going to change. It's not just a technology change. So what we need to look at when energy transition is happening is not just looking at the technology side. Yes, there is a technology side. There is a winner. When there is a winner, remember there is also a loser. So I'm trying to give you a perception where you will also see who are the losers in the trade. Now when energy transition happens, the losers in the trade will resist the change. When there is the resistance will come from the losers, and the losers will not lose so easily. They are very powerful. They have been ruling the world for so long. Do you think that they will give you a gap to enter in and quickly implement all the new the renewables and all these things? You are going to face resistance. The election that happened recently in the US is a clear indication of what is in store for us. The change now is more a change against the renewables. This is how the empire will strike back. Okay? It is literally happening that way. It will hit back. And when it hits back, we will have to look at how to take these changes, this climate change controls and the energy transitions that we are talking of, will all get slowed down a little bit. Now this is happening. Let me also give you an example closer to our home. You know that there is a new project, new announcement by the central government for 22 gigawatt of thermal power. It's coming in, coal-based thermal power. It's a new announcement that has been made last year for 22 gigawatt. So on one side, we talk of changes of renewables and all these happening. On the other side, there are certainly losers who will not allow you to really gather up momentum. It's not that they are not with a point. They also have valid points. You can't ignore them. It's not always the winners in a war write the history, but they should now also take care of the losers in a war. So unless we plan the transition in such a way that you will take care of all these changes, you will take care of the changes that you are bringing in with the by removing the what we call as a petrol or fuels from the business, then you will unless you take care of them, you will not be able to be successful in this business of transition. So now who are the losers in the game? Let me just give you a quick thing, because generally we talk in energy transition conferences, whatever I have at least attended, we always talk of who are the winners in the game. So we don't even talk about the losers. How do we take care of them? What really happens to them? So let me just give you a quick view on who are the losers, so that we need to be ready to cater to those things. There are, of course, almost all the industries are going to be losers. One of them, the automotive, you know that they have already kind of migrating to the new dictums, new rules that are being brought in. The other industry, of course, the energy industry itself, whatever was earlier, the coal and oil and all these guys will find a small slowing down. No, not really small, a big slowing down. They will find certain issues coming up there. But the biggest loser in the whole deal will be, can you make a guess? It will be the government. Government will be the biggest loser. Why do I say this? just if you look at the amount of tax that's being collected today by the government, you will find almost 20 to 30% of the tax collections come from the fuel taxes. The tax on fuels, the excise duties and all those stuff. The petrol and diesel and all those things. You know how much tax is going into them. I need not tell you about it. So they are not going to get this tax. So how do you anticipate, how do you expect the government's income will be saved? So what do you think you should expect? The transition will certainly bring in tax on solar and wind or whatever new energy forms you are thinking of. They will all get more and more taxed. There is just no questions about it, right? So we need to look at how the government is going to protect itself from this kind of sudden reduction in tax revenue if we migrate to a new source of power or energy. So this is one of the points I thought I should bring up. But then we are, today we have lots of expert speakers, but on the experts over here as well. So, but we have on the stage 3 experts with us who are going to talk about their perception on the transition, and particularly the one that's happening here in Tamil Nadu. So we have we have an expert, primarily from Tamil Nadu Green Energy, the newly formed company. He is our Director Technical, Mr. Vinothan is here. He has been complaining that he has a sore throat, so you guys have to listen carefully so you don't miss his points. So, and he is here, and Tamil Nadu Green Energy is possibly the most important component in the entire plan of energy transition that is happening in the state today. All the speakers here, in the inaugural session, have been stressing on the regulatory problems that people are facing. The regulatory problems will be there, and the implementing authority for the regulatory problems, let me not call it problems, let me call it regulatory, right? So the regulatory needs are being monitored and implemented by, in most cases, it will be implemented by TN Green Energy. So we need to know and hear from him on what they hold for us on state policies and regulatory framework. And let me introduce the others also for you. We have one of the successful, the gems of the public sector enterprises, NLC India, is also here. Mr. Mahendra Kumar is the Chief Manager, and he will be talking about his perception on the new paradigm that is the energy transition. And this is a company that is growing very fast. From, if you look at it, they have embraced the from coal, they have embraced the new technologies, they have migrated. This is actually a kind of tone that needs to be set in all the regulatory policies as well, and possibly that is the reason why Tamil Nadu, as in accepting that particular eventuality, they have brought in this new company that we were talking about, the Tamil Nadu Green Energy Company. So it is primarily to accept, well, the technology is here to stay, and we will have to migrate and bring them under our umbrella and take the opportunity to grow. As I was mentioning a little early, every energy transition made sure that the whole political situation in the world changed. And are we going to take it or not will decide, will be the final decider whether we are successful at the end of the 4th transition and we again regain our the top position in the world trade. So it all depends on, energy is the core of the whole thing. People may talk of other things, but energy is the core. So let us keep that in our minds. And finally, one of the major and most important areas of business would be the energy storage. And we have a very interesting person who was also present last time, and Mr. Dalvi is here from BASF Chemicals Germany.